I realize that Mother 3 is over 15 years old at this point, but due to it never being officially localized outside of Japan, I'm still going to give a spoiler warning for this game. There's also a good chance that this video might make you cry, so overall, viewer discretion is advised. The lead commander of the Pig Mask Army, the Masked Man, also known as... Well, firstly, how's about I tell you guys a quick little story? It starts on the humble, secluded Nowhere Island in the quiet town of Tazmily. Many people there lived peacefully, including one little family of farmers. Flint, his wife Hinawa, and their twin sons, Lucas and Claus. They also had a dog named Boney. It was the perfect little family, spending their days eating omelets and enjoying their peaceful lives with one another. But something disturbed that peace. A mysterious group of strangers wearing pig masks invaded their home, burning down the forest and turning the wildlife into mechanized weapons. And on the night this happened, one of those mechanized animals had killed Hinawa, setting in the events that would tear this family apart. Wanting revenge, the most outgoing of the twin boys, Claus, chose to go back to the mountains to find and defeat the animal that killed his mother. Flint and his father-in-law gave chase to stop him, but they were too late. Claus was never seen again. For the next 3 years, Flint would spend every day trying to find his lost son, but to no avail. It wouldn't be until after a long journey when he and Lucas would finally find him, as the soulless, weaponized commander of the Pig Mask Army, turned into a mechanical puppet that bends to the every will of the Pig Mask Army's ruler, King Porky. And after a battle between brothers that would determine the fate of the entire world, it would end with Claus remembering who he was, and in a desperate act to save the world from Porky's twisted ambitions, would sacrifice himself. Finally free from Porky's cruel enslavement, he would give his final breath in Lucas's arms and return to their mother's side. I don't really have a tactful segue from there, so why don't we just get started? Sound good? Claus, as the Masked Man, would be an average mid-weight class character, only a little heavier than his brother. He'd have 2 jumps, with his double jump having the same kind of gimmick that both Lucas and Nest have, using his powers to do a floatier, curved double jump, allowing for much more aerial mobility. He would also have the ability to wall jump. Claus for this moveset will be fighting with 3 powerful weapons, a sword, an arm-mounted cannon, and his own natural PSI powers, of which were unlocked for him by the Magypsies before he went missing. Now for this moveset, this is another case where I needed to pretty much fully innovate how I built this moveset, since Claus appears so little in his game, and even for the few times that he does appear, we don't see him do a whole lot. So just about everything that I've chosen to give to Claus here is based off of my own interpretation of the character. And based on that interpretation, this moveset will be very strange, to say the least. Almost wrong. That's the theming that I decided to go with for him. His attacks just don't feel right, like he's not all there. Very emotionless, if that makes any sense. So, for his jab, he can have a 3-hit attack that starts with him doing a spinning horizontal kick from left to right. Then out of that spin, he swings his sword horizontally from left to right as well. Then for the 3rd hit, after his sword is crossed over his torso, he holds his cannon arm under his sword arm and fires a strong burst from it to launch foes away, with the pose that he does for this jab finisher mimicking his boss battle sprite in Mother 3. On top of that, to add a small little aesthetical gimmick to his basic attacks, landing 2 or more strings of combos will have each sequential hit play a sitar sound, referencing the sound battle function of Mother 3, where characters' attacks all play a certain sound, and pressing the button to a certain rhythm based on the enemy that you're fighting will allow you to get more hits in. So for the jab specifically, you're always guaranteed to hear Klaus's sitar sound starting with the 2nd jab. For his dash attack, he can do the common jumping sword slash, leaping forwards while swinging his sword overhead from back to front, slamming the ground. While it is a somewhat common dash attack for many sword wielders in Smash, this still references one of the few animations that we see from Claus as the Masked Man, being the same attack that he uses when initiating his first boss battle at the end of Chapter 7. For his side tilt, the Masked Man swings his sword, doing a quick low to high sword swing at a slight angle. For the up tilt, he swings his sword again, only this time he does a quick hopping slash from front to back. And while he does so, his sword emits a small amount of PSI electricity, causing this attack to actually end up dealing multi-hitting damage. Turning this into an attack that's fast if it misses, but if it hits a foe, slightly slows down to make full use of those multiple hits. His down tilt can be one of the few that's just like his brothers, doing a very spammable crouching leg sweep. For his side smash, the Masked Man fires a beam, shooting a laser beam projectile from his arm cannon straight forwards. The longer you charge it, the farther it flies. The up smash can also have him use his cannon, but in a way that's very reminiscent of PK Smash Geyser, Lucas's powerful up smash. Claus fires a strong burst upwards that's also imbued with PSI energy, combining science and magic to create a very devastating attack. One that's just as powerful as Lucas's. But like Lucas's, that amount of power puts some strain on Claus's robotic body, leading to a lot of end lag. The down smash can also be like Lucas's move, PK Blow, except instead of only hitting on one side, Claus points both arms to the ground on each of his sides, firing PSI energy from his free hand and a beam burst from his cannon arm. Despite both sides shooting different attacks, they hit for the same damage, and they also only hit once each, unlike Lucas's, whose hits 3 times. His neutral air can have Claus do a few full body spins while holding his sword out, and as he does so, his body and sword both emit PSI electricity. Getting hit by his body deals multi-hitting damage, which could lead to them being hit by the sword, which is what launches foes. The forward air can be a kind of antithesis to Lucas's back air, having Claus do a front flip to swing his PSI-fueled sword from high to low, a move that can spike foes if it sweet spots. His back air can have him swing his cannon arm horizontally behind himself, causing a beam burst from it at the peak of the swing that deals major damage to foes. The up air can have Claus imbue his sword with electricity once again, but this time stabs it upwards 3 times at different angles. The first 2 hits only deal flinching damage, so it's that third stab that launches foes. And for the down air, he powers his sword with strong PSI energy, then thrusts it straight down, causing it to shoot a PSI burst at the peak of the stab. There is a bit of startup on this attack, but it deals a lot of damage, and foes hit by that PSI burst at the moment of its release will be spiked. Just like Lucas, and most psychics in the game really, Claus's grab game will be one of his most deadly options. He grabs by using psychokinesis and pummels by shocking his target. For his forward throw, he'll be taking a note from Darth Vader, which, let's be real here, he already pulls a lot from.
I am your
brother. No! He starts by lifting the foe up with a PSI force choke, then shoots them forwards with his cannon. His back throw will have him simply wind up and throw the foe backwards with PSI, definitely his deadliest throw. The up throw will have him lift the foe up high into the air, then slam them back down into the ground, bouncing them back into the air. And the down throw can have Claus force the foe low to the ground with heavy PSI, racking up damage as their body is crushed under the weight, then shoots them away. For Claus's neutral special, he uses a very familiar PSI attack that you might be more familiar with as an up special, PK Thunder. Or at least that's what I assume it is. It's never explicitly called that, but based on the context, it's a pretty safe bet that that's what it is. He will be using it very much differently than Ness and Lucas though, using it much closer to how he uses it in Mother 3. He fires a powerful lightning bolt projectile that strikes down in a spot a set distance in front of him. It's a simple yet very powerful attack, but it's also very easily telegraphed due to the windup that he needs to do with his sword in order to cast it. So it's hard to land, but if it does, oh boy will it be worth it. Just, I beg of you, please don't use it on characters with reflex. Please? Anyway, for Claus's side special, this will have him make use of the Pig Mask Army's technology and throw bombs. These are simple gravity-affected projectiles that explode on impact, dealing pretty good damage with a wide radius on their explosions. But just like in Mother 3, they do count as items that can be taken and used by others, so opponents are able to snatch it out of the air if they're quick enough to do so before it hits the ground or themselves. On top of that, if Claus is attacked during the startup animation of the side special, he drops the bomb on the ground. It won't explode if this happens, but it is treated like a normal item that any player can pick up and throw. This idea comes from when you get dropped items from defeating enemies in RPGs, and bombs do fall into this category, dropping from certain enemies in Mother 3. Regardless of who has the bombs, only 2 can be on screen at a time per Claus player. Now for his up special, he could use his jetpack wings, the same that we see him use in a couple of cutscenes. I would like to have this special work similarly to Lucas's up special, specifically after he hits himself with PK Thunder, flying into any chosen direction while spinning and his body emitting a ton of electricity that deals a lot of multi-hitting damage to drag opponents along and launch them at the peak of the charge, after which Claus will go into freefall. The big difference between this move and Lucas's is that it's nowhere near as strong as Lucas's, and it also has slightly less range. A trade-off for being able to use it whenever you want, as opposed to needing to hit yourself with a lightning bolt first. Something that Claus doesn't really handle all that well. In fact, come to think of it, Lucas hitting himself with lightning is actually in really poor taste, considering how Claus dies. But I guess that is just a really sad coincidence, since Ness already had the attack in Smash 64, long before Mother 3 ever came out. But then again, they didn't need to give it to Lucas, did they? I suppose that can just be something for me to think on for a future nitpick video, but anyways, for Claus's down special, he could use his Shield Killer. This is a move where I'm not sure if he's using a machine or his own PSI, but for this moveset, I'm putting my bets on it being a PSI move. All he does is release a psychic wave of energy in front of himself, which by itself does very weak damage. But as the name implies, using the Shield Killer on foes who are shielding does massive shield damage. It will not break a full shield in one shot, but it gets very close, so using this on a shield that's anywhere less than full will more than likely break it. So you want my advice? When fighting the masked man, you might be better off just getting out of his way. For the masked man's final smash! He uses his most powerful attack that I wish was Lucas's final smash, but again, that's for a different video. PK Love! This is the devastating PSI spell only known by the twins, the one that enables them to pull the needles of the Dark Dragon. It is hard to have a good concept about what this would look like as a final smash, since we've never seen it outside of some visual effects in Mother 3. So here's my idea of how it could work. It'll be an area of effect final smash, one that covers a limited but still very large radius around Claus, and it'll repeat the same effects that we see for PK Love in Mother 3. Any foe within that radius will take constant damage, then be launched at the end of the spell. For the colors, Claus's default design would have him in his masked man attire, and the first 5 alts can all reference the different ranks of soldiers in the Pig Mask army, starting with the pink Pig Mask grunts, then the blue Pig Mask captains, then the green Pig Mask majors, then the purple Navy Squeal soldiers, and the white Pig Mask colonels. Then here we have a single alternate costume, having Claus in his original striped shirt that matched Lucas's. And speaking of which, just like how Lucas has an alt to reference Claus, 2 of them in fact, this alt for Claus can have a single alternate color that matches Lucas's attire. For Claus's stage intro, he simply flies down using his jetpack, just like we see him do when he confronts Lucas and his friends on Tain Island to pull the 5th needle. There could also be a Pig Army ship flying away in the background, as if he was dropped off by it. For his taunts, his first can have him hold his sword forwards as it emits electricity, then does a mock swing to shake the static off. His second just has the masked man looking around, as if he heard a voice calling out to him. And his last can have him covering his ears and squeezing his eyes shut, as if the voice keeps calling out to him, but he's trying desperately to tune it out to continue his mission. And for Klaus's victory animations, his first can be like one of Lucas's, having him pull one of the Dark Dragon's needles from the ground, though Claus pulls it with a single arm, after which he just stares blankly into the camera. His second can just show him standing there with the camera at his side. Then as the camera slowly pans to his head, he looks into it with his blank stare. And for his final victory animation, and I apologize now for how much this is going to hurt, it just shows his mask sitting on the ground, and as the camera pans around it, you see in the background the spirits of Claus and Hinawa, holding hands and walking away. With the nightmare over, the exhausted son may finally reunite with his mother, as they rest in peace together. And that does it for What If the Masked Man Claus was in Smash. So, if you enjoyed what you saw and would like to see even more characters be given possible Smash movesets, be sure to subscribe. And if you want to support the show and help me be able to make more content for you guys, you can click the join button either below the video or my main page to become a sponsor for my channel. Doing so will get you access to my private Discord as well as channel emotes. You can guarantee that your name appears in my videos, or even get the option of knowing what if character is coming up next a week in advance. I really appreciate anything that can be contributed. And of course, if you have a character that you want to see be given a possible Smash moveset, leave a comment down below or contact me on Twitter at BrawlFan1 on Twit. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching. Take care.